Thank you for staying with us for this WSL post-show. Plenty of highlights and lowlights for some of the world's best today. The action started nice and early this morning with Matt Wilkinson, the Jeep ratings leader, really tested in the first heat of the day up against one of our wildcards, Hira Teahupo'o, Ronnie Blakey with Strider Wasilewski and Ross Williams. Gentlemen, great to have you on the show firstly, but a very interesting day. We knew it was going to be a grind with some small waves on offer, Strider.
Yeah, but you know what? These guys really got it done. I mean, I love the way they were surfing out there. They had the challenge of going to turns, which we saw right off the bat with Wilco coming out of the barrel, throwing in some really nice sweeps, some good carving game. I was saying that was something he needed to improve of, but he did a really good job of it. So it was nice to see him just really looking like a world title contender this morning.
Definitely. Some tough heats, Ross, no doubt, but the forecast not looking fantastic for this window. So we want to get through these early rounds, because if you had to pick to run the early rounds as opposed to running the finals in excellent waves, you would pick these early rounds to get, I guess, the early rounds out of the way in the average conditions.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is. So we got to make lemonade out of lemons. But an average day or even a below average day at Chofu is still really exciting. That's the beauty of this surf spot. So, and the cool thing is we actually get to see the guys light it up with some moves at Chofu, which is kind of rare. Usually it's such a black and white situation with only barrels. But there's some good highlights today. I thought it was a really gutsy performance from Matty Wilkinson to get past Hida, which was not an easy task. And then the downside, you mentioned there's highs and lows. Really disappointing from Felipe. He looked totally confused out there. And then kind of the middle of the road guy that I thought was impressive to kind of back himself up there as an injury replacement was Dusty Payne. Super solid performance from him.
We're really picking apart. It felt, Strider, at times like surfers just got their strategy a little wrong out there, because it seemed for the most part there was equal opportunity.
Well, there was. It's hard though. You get stuck trying to maybe wait for a wave and sitting out there. That heat with Adriano de Souza, our world champion, sitting out the back waiting, kind of getting sucked out in the current. You could see it all happening right underneath their noses, and I don't even think they realized it, but they were just getting sucked out in the current. There was little waves being, blowing by on the inside, little tube rides to be had, and they were missing opportunities, and they got a restart. I didn't even think they'd get that out of that heat. We
know that the rookie race is getting very interesting. The last heat, it featured a couple of very sharp-looking surfers. Miguel Pupo up against Canoa Igarashi, who I think is really looking to seize the opportunity with Kaipo Belli out of the mix here. And Kaipo actually has caught up with Canoa out there in the lineup.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Canoa, great surfing at the end of that heat, but also some great decision-making, kicking out early and regaining priority, which led to another good score.
Yeah, out here it's really wave dependent, and the guy that gets the best wave is usually gonna, make the heat. And yeah, right there, everyone knows how to get barreled out here, and I just wanted to get those west ones and try and get as deep as I could. And yeah, I was bouncing around the foam ball, so it was fun.
Well, we're going to see Canoa Igarashi in round number 3. Highly likely that's going to happen tomorrow. Let's get more insight from the desk.
Yeah, it's going to be a great heat. Canoa is going to find himself up against Joel Parkinson in that third round. Let's swing back to the first heat of the day, though, because we have been putting the pressure on Matt Wilkinson ourselves. We want to see how he performs. He's holding on to that Jeep Leaders jersey. A disappointing result at J-Bay and a pretty tough draw in the first heat of the day. Well,
you're coming up against a local guy who's known to surf this wave really, really well. When I saw the two of them in the water this morning, though, I pretty much just was thinking in my mind, okay, Wilco's got this. I saw Hira, he was just coming out of his skin. He was so psyched. He was just really pumped to get out there, do this heat, and try to take it to the current yellow Jeep rankings leader right there. But this guy, look at those turns and that extra whip at the end. That was impressive right there, Ross.
I was really impressed. In fact, I thought there should have been maybe a little more reward for Wilco with those turns. He looked really sharp. He always lights it up. We talk about his backhand, but he's got a great forehand as well. And Wilco laid into a couple of really cool steezy cutbacks and got okay scores, but overall it was a pretty smooth effort from Wilco today.
Yeah, he actually talked to him. I caught up with him in the channel, and he said he was riding a little bit of a bigger board. He said on the front side he likes to have a little more under his feet, and it looked really good out there. Here it didn't lay down. Look at this barrel he got, came out, nice little cutback, but just not as sharp or as clean as Wilco.
I like Wilco's sit-down kind of carve he does, Ronnie. It's a little bit underrated. We talk about his backhand, how sharp it is, but that carve on his forehand, it's looking really nice.
He was rewarded with 1-8. It was a strong performance. We know he's got a big hurdle to come in the third round. We caught up with him after that heat win in round 2.
It was good to surf against the wild card out here. He's obviously amazing, and the locals when it's bigger here are unbelievable. But Hira obviously won the trials when it was small and has done really well on the QS. So he was always going to be a tough heat, and it proved to be. We were going back and forth, and it was really fun. I obviously didn't want a 25th here, and I don't want a 13th either. So the next heat's just as important, and I guess every heat I paddle out for is gonna have a lot of weight on it now because of the situation I'm in. So as long as I keep my head down and keep doing the right thing, I don't know, I should be fine.
What a glorious situation it is too, Matt Wilkinson. 2 big wins at the start of the season, a final in Fiji. It has gone from trying to qualify each year, re-qualify each year, to suddenly leading this world title race and still alive in the mix.
Well, it's definitely alive in the mix. I mean, looking like he's actually one of the guys that are looking to win the contest. He looks so strong. I mean, this morning I just sat back and went, wow, he is looking so good. And he's one of those characters that it's hard not to like him. You know, he's got a good nature. He's a happy guy, and he's changed up his program to win. And you're watching him kind of evolve as we speak. As the year gets longer and into the back end, we're watching him get better and better and deal with the pressure that's been put on him by us, by everybody else watching and scrutinizing every single little move.
Well, I like his headspace, Ronnie. I think, again, all of these surfers are, they're subjected to having nerves and thinking too much, being heady, and then you go out there and you can't perform. You get handcuffed because you're too nervous. But I like the way, Matt Wilkinson's digesting his situation. He's like, yeah, I'll have some pressure. I do have the yellow jersey. So I feel like he's being honest. He's not trying to pretend nothing's happening. And that allows him to go out there and surf.
We always see those top seeds in the first 2 heats of the second round, and Heat 2 featured Adriano de Souza, the world champ, who is just missing a bit of hunger in 2016. We know that world titles are hard to back up, but he just didn't really look like he was ever in that heat, despite the fact that Alex Ribeiro got the jump on him with a very small heat score total.
Yeah, and Alex with his first win of the year, hats off to him. He needed that little confidence booster, but to beat the current reigning world champion must feel pretty good too. De Souza, these guys were playing that game with each other up the point this whole heat, and it just did not fare well for De Souza in the end because they had to end up coming way back down. De Souza missed the best wave of the heat, and with that, he lost.
It just feels like if Adriano was surfing this heat last year, he wouldn't have dropped the ball. This year, just a little bit more complacent. Even on that ride, he usually be so aggressive with every approach to the lip Ross, but it just felt like he held a little back.
Yeah, it's funny. We hear Kelly talk about it a lot over the years. Like, he almost kind of puts this mystical vibe over it. I think it's my year. I'm feeling it. Things are coming my way. If that's the deal, it's not going his way, Adrian. I don't feel like he's really harnessing that kind of pit bull energy that he usually has. And then for Alex Ribeiro, in a weird way, even though it's his first heat win, I almost feel like it's going to shatter his confidence because his total was a 6.23. So I don't know if he'll be too proud.
Well, let's see what Adriano had to say after this loss.
Yeah, I mean the waves. It's pretty tricky today, and but there's no excuse, because we are professional. We have to do when it's amazing, and when the waves are bad. So we are professional athletes, so we have to do whatever the ocean bring it to us. And yeah, it's kind of like for me, it's back home started a little bit what I did mistake in this heat and back strong for Lois.
Well, let's take a look at the top 5 now on the Jeep leaderboard. We know that the big dogs are still in the mix, the top 3, but Adriano falling out of the draw is a huge opportunity for the likes of Julian Wilson, some of those guys at the back end of the top 10 to make a charge up into the top 5. Fanning's not here, so there's some room to move on the ladder there.
I think this is a big opportunity, boys, for Italo and Jordy. They're right there, just out of the top 5, but again, like we all know, Mick's not going to be there all year, so that's almost just kind of to the side. And now with Adriano de Souza opening the door, those guys got to be excited.
Yeah, there's also you look at the year, it's been so crazy. Bar Wilco, there hasn't been one guy that really has been dominating anything else. And for the race, I feel like it's still wide open. You've got so many guys that can come in and win events You know, there's a lot of guys that can come in to this event, to Trussell's, that could just get a win, and 2 event wins could put you in that position to win and the world title in itself. So I feel like this thing is still wide open. It could go any way.
Did anyone who tripped up in the first round, do you think bounce back well enough in the second round to have you thinking that maybe they're going to go on to win this contest?
Well, potentially Julian. I thought Julian looked sharp. Again, he's a guy we always talk about who should be there fighting for the world title with Gabby and with John and a couple of the others. So I thought he looked pretty good today.
I was really surprised by how well Joel Parkinson rode the barrel on such small waves. I mean, he was threading through, riding foam balls, and you know, for a guy who's usually on the bigger waves and riding through kind of heavy critical sections, for him to be able to foam ball ride, slip through some hard sections to make when it's small like that, I think he's got a good chance.
It's going to be interesting to see, but that third round is shaping up nicely. After the break, we'll have a look at some of those matchups and also check out a piece on Adrian Buchan.
So yeah, my head's spinning, yeah, my ears are ringing. If nothing ever changes, I think I'll be alright. Now the chalk winning, my full moons are bringing in time. It just repeats itself over and over. All this screaming and all this moving around. It's got me thinking that I'm not coming down.
It's definitely one of the most picturesque places you can ever come in the world, and obviously an amazing wave that we get to compete on. The way it comes in and bends, and it breaks with kind of such power and force. When you are standing in one of those barrels and you get shot out into the channel with a spit, there's not many better feelings in surfing. Every year to come back and surf against the world's best at arguably, the world's most famous and intimidating wave is something pretty special.
Billabong Pro Tahiti champ from 2013, Adrian Buchan, has been performing pretty well here so far, and that was his version of the GoPro break breakdown. A great person to go to for insights on this location. He looks so comfortable in round one. Really a dominant performance.
I mean, yeah, he's hard not to put on your fantasy team. Kind of not a good choice not to, and I didn't. It was kind of a bad choice, I'd say.
Oh, well, at least you're honest.
Yeah, I have to be honest about it. Ace just so strong out here. He's always so calculated, and he surfs the wave so he's got a win out here. He's just one of those guys that is just going to be sliding into that wave every time.
Ace is like a surgeon. We talk about how precise he is. I love Ace's style, a smooth surfer. Underrated though, in hollow waves. He gets good waves every year at Pipe. In the wintertime in Hawaii, he gets good waves here. Also makes seemingly always the correct decision tactically. So I think rated 11th right now. This is a good opportunity for him to bust into the top 10.
Has a nice little matchup in the third round, though, up against Alejo Munez. We didn't mention him as one of the star performers of the second round. Alejo looked really good, maybe the best heat performance I've seen from him out here.
I was psyched for Alejo. Those snaps, he's always strong. He's kind of got that low center of gravity. We kind of know him for his forehand snaps, but Strider, his backhand snaps today, it kind of got me off my seat. I was like, wow, that was sick.
And I've seen him a couple of years ago, I think maybe it was last year, he got some really good barrels out here where he was driving through sections, coming over foam balls, so he's got a barrel game as well. He's not just stuck to the face, he's got more in the bag, which is really nice. And he's one of those guys that you just never think about, and all of a sudden he's just marching through heat. So watch out for Alejo.
Watch out for Alejo. Adrian Buchan, let's talk about him for a minute. Coming into this event in 11th position, and we have mentioned a couple of surfers in the top 10 falling out of the mix in the second round, so Ace, a very good shot for him, Ross, at making the jump back into the top 10 and maybe even getting up to near where his buddy Matt Wilkinson's sitting.
Yeah, I think for sure he's going to be, again, drawing some inspiration from his buddy, Matty Wilkinson. And then also, I think this is great momentum for Ace, not to jump ahead, but maybe for us we can jump ahead. I like the way he surfs at lowers, too. He's one of those guys that kind of exposes the other surfers that try too hard and get really fruity and going for big airs or whatever, and Ace just stabs the wave like 100 times and gets 8s all day. So it could be a good leg of the tour for him.
His rhythm, right? His timing is so good, and he just has that off the bottom, off the top combo on the backhand that it's deadly. He's going to get those 8s, like you said, and it's just one of those things you can count on. It's just like out here on the forehand where he just drops in, threads the needle perfectly, stays just behind it long enough, comes out, does the wrap, kicks out for the excellent score.